Hey everybody, I am going to be giving you guys an update today. Sorry if this first part seems like a little rushed, a little unemotional, but I've already filmed this and it was just way too long and I hadn't even really gotten to like the gist of the video and I just wanted to redo it. But if you're watching this, you've already seen my update from just like my schedule and saying I'm back and what to expect from me. So if you haven't watched that, I would definitely make sure you watch that one because my schedule is not going to be the same and it's going to explain it all. So definitely watch that. And I wanted to say thank you first and foremost for all of you who have left comments or messaged me, texted me, everything else. Like, it just means the world. I can't say it enough. I don't have a way to show you, but it really does. So I just wanted to say thank you. I knew that you guys would be so supportive, and of course you were. But today I just kind of wanted to give you an update on how I'm doing. I am going to be making a separate video because you guys haven't gotten the details of everything, whether it's the pregnancy, the miscarriage, what's happening now. I feel like it's very much scattered. I just made that video to be quick and to let you guys know where I was going. And I want to give you guys kind of the start to finish story, but I also want to do it one for myself because looking back, there's some things I can't remember about my other two miscarriages that I wish I would have documented so I could have watched and I could have helped myself. I mean, with everything I have, I hope that I'm never here again, but in the case that I am, I've been sitting around wishing that I would have been on YouTube during my first miscarriage so I could think of stuff because it's been so long. This November will be 5 years since our first miscarriage, and we had another one last year if you didn't know my story, and then we just had one on May 5th of 2018. And I also want to make that video because after the fact, after we learned everything, I looked for a lot of missed miscarriage videos. I said that wrong, but I couldn't find a lot of them. It was just hard to sort through everything, and I just want to put that out there for anybody who is looking for one. And like I said, I do think that, you know, you guys deserve to hear the full story. You guys are super supportive of me, so, you know, I want to fill you guys in because I was filming while I was pregnant, and I knew that, and, you know, I knew I was pregnant for 2 months, and I feel like you guys were along for the ride, even though you didn't get to know that. I don't know how to put that, but there will be a more in-depth video. So if you're curious from start to, I hate to say finish, because definitely it won't ever feel finished, but, you know, if you're curious about the whole story, there will be a video on that. But today I wanted to talk about what has been going on for the past few weeks, basically since I haven't been on YouTube. And I feel like I'm ready for this. I'm sure that I said this in my update about me coming back, but I just wanted to come back when I felt like my work would help me, and I definitely think that I'm there. You know, I find myself kind of, I don't know, wishing that I had work to do some days. So I'm going to come back and give you guys an update. So I'm going to give you guys kind of like a chronological update as to what's happened since I last left you, and then touch on our emotions last, just because when I was thinking about making this video for the past few days, it just felt all over the place trying to tie my emotions in with everything that I needed to say, and it would lead me to different times and stuff like that. So I just felt like if I just give you the basic facts of what have happened over the past couple weeks, and then I'll talk to you about my emotions last. But I will put a timestamp right here if you're only interested in emotions of what I've been going through, because that's really kind of been the gist of it. But so I left you guys on Monday, and Mark had taken Monday off. He wanted to make sure that I was going to physically be okay, but also that I was not going to be alone because the girls were at my grandma's, and he just didn't feel right going to work. So he stayed home with me. We got the girls. We came home. And then on Tuesday, he had to go back to work, but that was supposed to be the day of our 12-week OB visit. So he had already told his work that he needed a few hours off to go with me to that. and I had called my OB on Monday to let them know everything that had happened, and they said, keep your appointment, we'll just make it a different kind of appointment. So he was able to go with me to that, and we went there. The first thing they did was an ultrasound. It showed that the baby and the sac were no longer in there, so that's what the ER doctor helped me pass. But there was some blood and tissue, but my doctor said it was really close to my cervix, and she was really hopeful that I was going to pass everything by myself. But she did have me schedule up a follow-up ultrasound, which is now like a week and a half away, or maybe a little less than that, just to make sure that I have passed everything, because if I haven't, I will have to have a DNC. And then she also ordered weekly HCG lab draws, so I got my first one done, and on Saturday when we first went to the ER, it was 2,600, which is not in the range of what it should have been at all. For 12 weeks pregnant, you want to be between 20,000 or 200,000, in that range, and obviously 2,600 is nowhere close. So from Saturday, and then my first lab draw was a week and 2 days after that on a Monday, and it was already down to 51. So I'm very thankful that my HCG is dropping pretty fast. I know women have to suffer through getting countless draws because it takes their body a really long time to drop that level, and I'm pretty sure that was me the first time around. I think I had like 4 or 6 draws before I was completely down to 0, and it was really tough. It's really tough to walk in there and to have to continue to get these lab draws, you know, even though you're not physically carrying a child anymore, and there's just a lot of emotions around everything physically. But I'm very thankful, and I actually have my next lab draw tomorrow, and I'm hopeful that that is down even farther, if not to 0, but I'm trying not to get my hopes up. And then after the ultrasound, Mark and I just really got to talk to my doctor about everything, and one of the first things that she told me was that while this isn't common to miscarry the way I did, it definitely does happen. And that made me feel a little bit better, just in the sense of knowing that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't like 1 in a million or anything. I mean, the odds are pretty low. It's supposed to be 2% given the circumstances of what happened. So that sucks to know, but it's definitely not like it doesn't happen to other women, which, like I said, it just made me feel less alone in it all. So she told me that, and one of our biggest things was just seeing what we could do next time. And even if it was just to give us more ultrasounds, that's what we had initially asked for, because I only had one ultrasound. To give you a little bit more of specifics, we went in for an ultrasound, and my doctor's office assumed I was 10 weeks based off of my missed period, but I knew that I ovulated late, and I was expecting for me to be 7 weeks 6 days at that ultrasound, which is exactly what the baby measured at. So I was 7 weeks 6 days then. And when we got the news that we had miscarried, it said that the baby was measuring only at 8 weeks. So obviously right after that ultrasound that we had at my OB's, something happened. Baby stopped growing, didn't have a heartbeat anymore, whatever. And I really wish that I would have had like an ultrasound at 10 weeks or something, just something in the middle, so I didn't have to go a whole month thinking that I was carrying a living child and everything else. And she was totally fine, because we did ask about other stuff that I'll get to in a minute, but she was totally fine doing whatever we wanted to do to like reassure us, and like would make us feel better next time around. But she was saying how insurance companies tend not to pay for it, because I haven't had 3 miscarriages in a row, so I don't have a medical higher risk, so it's not medically necessary for me to get those ultrasounds, which just infuriates me, that money has to be a factor in people getting answers. That's just so wrong to me, and I'm just so aggravated by it. My camera cut me off, but I was just saying it's really infuriating that money has to do with getting results around your healthcare. It just infuriates me. But my doctor personally is fine with doing whatever would make Mark and I at ease next time around. And we did ask about testing for ourselves and a bunch of other questions, but it just basically comes down to we can do whatever you want, you just might have to pay out of pocket. So we'll have to see what those things cost in time, if our insurance will cover them, if they won't, what it would cost out of pocket, and all those different things. I'm going to be doing a whole trying to conceive update because there was stuff that happened in the cycles and that I learned that I weren't telling you guys about. And there's different specifications my doctor gave me before trying to conceive again, which it's nothing serious, but I'm also curious about what I should document next time. I just have a lot of things to tell you, so it is going to be a separate update, but we did talk to her about that. And when we did ask about testing for ourselves, she said that we could, but she was very hopeful that nothing was wrong with us because we did have 2-term healthy babies. And, you know, it just seems like this is just happening to us. And that kind of sucks, but it kind of makes you, I don't know, like you want a reason, but like at least there's not anything wrong. I don't know how to put that, but she said again that we could do whatever, but you know, again, it just might be an out-of-pocket expense. But she spent a lot of time reassuring us that she felt pretty confident because I had gestational diabetes with Remy, and I also, or Sophie had ovarian cysts in utero, but like other than that, their pregnancies didn't have any huge complications. Our deliveries were fine. I was fine. Just like everything about it, she's very confident that, you know, it's not anything to do with us. It's just, unfortunately, this happened. She said she didn't want to call it bad luck, but like it's just one of those things that we're just unfortunate with. And I don't know, we just spent a lot of time talking to her, and I'm just really grateful for her. She's always been super sympathetic and empathetic with me and what I've gone through, and pretty much the whole office. You know, I have so many appointments when I am pregnant that like the receptionists all know me, the ultrasound tech knows me, the nurses know me, everything. So it feels like I have the whole support of the office, if that makes sense. And that makes me feel better that like there's people who are thinking of us and stuff. I don't really know. But yeah, so that was the gist of the appointment basically. And also a little update, if you watch my chit chat videos, my doctor is going to stay and practice my OB, so I can follow her, which I'm very thrilled about because like I've said a bunch of times, I love her and I never want another OB. So I was really excited to hear that. And ever since then I've been bleeding. I bled for about a week and a half basically, maybe a little bit over, and I was passing stuff. Some days I was in physical pain, others I wasn't. Some days I felt fine, and other days I had really intense backache and cramps, but nothing compared to like what it was in the hospital. The hospital on a pain scale was like an 8, sometimes a 9 for me, but ever since then nothing's been, I mean, at max it's been like a 2. So it's nothing that I can't handle with a heating pad, which has been just like my go-to thing. Fortunately, I'm not bleeding anymore. I'm making this on the 20th, and I haven't bled for a couple of days. That's basically the gist of what's happened physically as what I know. I will update you guys what happens with the ultrasound and everything else, probably in just like a chit chat video, and throw it in there. If I do need a DNC, I will be taking more time off, even though it is like an outpatient surgery. I just know it's gonna like set me back a million places, so just expect that. If I do need a DNC, I'll make an announcement just so you guys don't think that I disappeared again or for no reason. But yeah, that's basically the gist of everything that's happened since I last talked to you guys. It physically has been the hardest miscarriage to go through, and I told Mark it's just things that are even as simple as the fact that I took a pregnancy test because I wanted to see how much the line was on there, and it was a super faint positive, like faint to where my husband probably couldn't have noticed it, but it was still there. I could see it. And I told him that, like, while I was sitting there looking for it, I was disappointed that there was still a line on there. And just how mentally it screws you up thinking about, I spent all that time hoping to see a second line, wanting to see a second line, watching it progress, and now I'm in a situation where I want it to go away. I want my HCG levels to drop. I want my body to go back to normal, you know? Like, it is such a messed up situation that I'm in that 2 weeks ago, I wanted nothing more than to make sure that my HCG was going where it should be. But then now, 2 weeks later, I'm in a situation where I want to see a negative pregnancy test. Like, that just mentally screws with you. Everything about this physically screws with your mind. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. They know that a miscarriage is sad. They know that losing a pregnancy is sad. But I don't think anybody ever thinks about the fact that you don't just lose a pregnancy. It doesn't just disappear, that you physically have to go through it, things to lose it. You have to physically lose a pregnancy, you know? So like, what I had to go through physically was just emotionally draining and exhausting, and mentally too. And even after the hospital, when I was out of the majority, 99% of my pain, every day waking up and seeing that stuff, it's just a physical reminder of what your head is already, you know, stressing over and is going through. And it's just awful. Like, you can't begin to even take a step forward if you're physically having to have reminders of it. It's just awful. I don't know how else to say it. And this time, everything physically was just, I don't know, like having to see that stuff, having to go back to the hospital, and everything that happened when we were in the hospital. Like, it was traumatizing. Like, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget what physically happened to me the first 2 times. I could tell you in such detail that you could like paint a picture from it. But this time, there was so much more pain. There was so much more stuff to it. The fact that medical professionals had to help me, and I was awake and I could feel stuff, and it was just like, it was like horrific. I don't know how else to put it, but like, physically having to go through this is just awful. Like, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I don't care who you are. I would not wish this on anybody. And that's been one of the hardest parts, especially in those first few days when I was just in so much pain and it just didn't feel fair. I told you guys on Sunday that I couldn't let myself feel anything because of how much pain I was in. Like, my abdomen hurt up to my boobs. Like, that's, my entire torso hurt from the pain I was in from just my abdomen and like contracting and stuff. It was excruciating, and I couldn't even let myself cry, because when I would cry, obviously, like, your chest is moving and that would make everything feel worse. So if I started to cry, I would have to make myself stop, and that just, that messes with you mentally too. Like, everything about it has just been so hard. And I just wanted to mention the physical part because I don't think enough people understand that. I had a lot of people tell me, I don't want to get into that. I don't know. I'm just going to read my notes and move on to the next thing. The next thing that has come to me is I definitely wasn't realistic in my announcement video. Well, you guys didn't really know anything about my mindset then. I mean, obviously I was upset, but on the drive home Sunday night from the hospital, I was telling Mark how I felt like this time I felt more equipped to deal with things, that I felt like, since I've unfortunately been in this situation 2 times before, that I know what makes me better, what makes me worse. I can stay away from things, I can embrace others, and just all this different stuff, how I was hopeful that this time I could deal with it better. And I was just so unrealistic about that. It doesn't matter what you lose, who you lose, how many times you've been through it. It's always going to hurt in a different way. It's going to hurt more. It's just, I don't know how to put it. But this time, like I said, physically, but emotionally and mentally, it's been a lot worse. And I don't know, like, I'm gonna be pretty candid with you guys. I had a lot of people tell me that, you know, I was brave or I was strong for telling my story, but I'm not telling you guys to even really share my story necessarily. It's just, I want to be honest with you. I'm going to feel like crap. I feel like crap right now. I'm going to feel like crap for weeks and months to come. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, and you guys might pick up on that, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm fine when I'm not fine. I'm not gonna do that. I did that the first time I miscarried. People would ask me how I was. I went back to work 3 days later, and that wasn't right. I wasn't doing myself any justice. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was doing what I thought other people were comfortable with, and I refused to ever do that again because it made it that much harder on me mentally the first time I miscarried, that I learned my lesson from that. So, people might be uncomfortable with what I say or how I act or that I'm honest and that I'm not going to be okay, but I really don't care. I don't. Everybody grieves differently. I don't care who you are. You've had grief or loss touch you in some way, form, or another in your life, and if you haven't, you will, and you will learn how you grieve, and everybody does that differently. There's no you can't tell somebody that they're grieving wrong or whatever. Like, everybody has their own process with it. And I don't think that judging anybody based off of how they grieve is going to make your journey any easier. It doesn't make the things that you're going through any less. So why not just shut up and keep a good distance if you don't like what somebody's doing? But I want to be honest with you guys because I want to be honest with you guys. That's what it comes down to. I'm not going to tell you I'm fine when I'm not. I'm not going to be all normal Alia, and I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily say like I'm happy and bubbly, but I'm definitely a lot more delightful than I have been. I will say that much, but I just don't think that I was realistic, and that makes me kind of upset with myself because I feel like I almost set a standard or an expectation for myself, and I shouldn't have. If you're going through this, and if you're going through this multiple times, don't think you have to act a certain way. Don't think that because of what someone else expects from you that you need to meet that. Like, your grieving is your own journey. You need to do things on your own time. You need to feel things as they come, and that's not wrong. So that was something else that I realized. And basically this time, like I said, it's been a lot different because of all the different circumstances. The first two miscarriages, we never made it to the first appointment, let alone heard a heartbeat or see a perfectly healthy baby from what we could see. And we definitely weren't this far along. I was 12 weeks and 3 days when I got the news. I was 12 weeks and 4 days when I actually started miscarrying. And it's just, it's been a lot harder. I was 4 days away from being out of the first trimester, or so I thought. And I know that the baby was done at 8 weeks. It was no longer growing. Its heart had stopped beating. But I thought I was pregnant for an entire month after. I still had pregnancy symptoms. My placenta was trying to do what it could, what it thought it needed to do. And that's like, everything about this has been completely and utterly heartbreaking and just sad. And I don't know how else to put it. Just knowing that I was so close, or what I thought was so close to being out of the first trimester. And even walking into that ER, we thought we were overreacting. Like, I was initially scared because of the blood, and I was crying and I was upset. But the more that like the night progressed, I thought I was fine because, to be candid, Mark and I had had sex the night before. I know that, internal exams, ultrasound, sex, stuff like that, it can like shake things loose and whatever when you're pregnant. So a little bit of blood, and it wasn't like a period blood either. It was tinged in like other stuff, like a discharge. So the more the night progressed, and the fact that I wasn't bleeding anymore, I was like, wow, I'm kind of silly for coming in. And I just, like, when I told Mark, when I remember things, I don't remember them as like first person. I remember them like third person, so I can see myself and whoever I'm with like experiencing stuff. And that might sound strange, but when I think about us getting the news, we were sitting there and we were laughing and joking about something, because at that point we had thought that we had overreacted and that they were going to come and show us pictures of this healthy baby and we were going to go home, which would have been such a relief to us. When we were sitting there laughing, I saw the doctor approaching, but we were talking, so I didn't want to look away. And when I remember it, I can just see her walking towards us and I can see us happy, and then just how quickly that changed. And I don't know, I could sit here and talk forever about why everything feels the way it does. I don't know. Good thing I made notes, because like sitting here, it's really hard to concentrate because your mind starts to go one place and it starts to go like a million different others. But like I knew that I was pregnant for 2 months, and for over 60 days I went about my everyday life like I was pregnant because I knew that I was. And to think that we had made it to the ultrasound and we saw everything and we heard a heartbeat, and to me I felt like that was good, like we're set. I heard a heartbeat, like I'm fine. And like I said, there was a 2% chance of this happening, and neither one of us expected it. And that just crushes me every time I think about it. Like the unexpectancy of it all, and how far we got, and just everything about it. It just, there's a lot of different reasons why this time hurt so much deeper and so much harder. It was just so much worse that I like I said, I could sit here forever. I wrote down, when I wrote these notes, I said that I wasn't really angry. I was just very sad. Remembering how happy we were about everything makes me sad. But to address the anger thing, I'm definitely not angry this time. I think initially I wasn't angry. You know, the first couple of times I was really angry with my body just right off the bat because it miscarried the second something was wrong. But this time my body tried to hang on and tried to do everything that it could, which I didn't feel angry with it this time. I also know that it's not my fault or anything, but I just wasn't angry right off the bat. But I definitely have started to feel that anger. It's more geared towards people who haven't been there for me, who continue to not be there for me, or however you want to put it. And I've told friends that, you know, I've experienced loss a number of times in my life, and every time it will surprise me the people that you expect to show up who won't, and the people who you didn't even think of that will. And a lot of that has made me angry. And before, I also had a lot of anger and jealousy and stuff towards other pregnant women, which honestly, I don't really feel that, but I do feel sad. And I guess that's what I'll get back to. I feel really sad when I think about people being due in November like I was, or seeing people announce their pregnancy because I would be right now. And like thinking of everything that like could have been. I don't know. That really upsets me. Oh, God. And come on, you can do it. And thinking about how happy we were, I told Mark this. You guys didn't really know, but like everything had happened within like a few weeks of itself, and it was going so good. Like we didn't have a single thing to complain about in our life. We found out we were pregnant. I got my certification. There was so many other little things that happened in our life that within like a few weeks that it really truly felt like we could not complain about anything ever, because it was going that good. And I know life doesn't stay that good, but like why couldn't I have had my credit card stolen? Why couldn't have something need fixed on a car? Like something replaceable instead of this, because nothing else has changed other than this. And I hate that. Like it's really hard for me to think about how happy we were in doing certain stuff and think of where we are now, and that we had no control over being here. You know, like I said, I wish it just something crappy could have happened that would have been replaceable. And that's what makes me the saddest, and I think I'm a lot more sad than I am angry. The anger definitely comes just every once in a while, but the sadness is like what weighs heavy on me 98% of the time. It's just being sad, like all the time. And I try to like laugh through it, and honestly I think that's one of my biggest coping mechanisms and stuff that makes me feel better is laughing. So, you know, if you see me laughing, it's not because I think things are genuinely funny. I'm just trying to help myself get through this next moment. And I'm sorry this video is incredibly long. I'll do what I can to shorten it because it's getting really long. I also want to talk about the fact that I've had a lot of people tell me that I'm strong and brave and a lot of other things along those lines, and I don't want to be a lot of the time. Like, I don't have a choice. I have other people who depend on me, so I have to wake up every morning. I have to get stuff done. I have to do things. I am responsible for other things and other people in my life, and I have to be those things. But it doesn't mean I want to be. There's days that I want to spend in bed. There's days where I just like lay on the couch and just like chill with the kids and, you know, do whatever they ask, but that's like the extent of what gets done. And, you know, I don't feel those things. I definitely would not use them to describe me. I would use a mess to be probably number one, but like I don't know. I don't think that when you're a mom to living children, you have a husband, you have a life, you have other responsibilities, like you kind of have to meet them at some point. So, and I know everybody's trying to pay me a compliment and I appreciate that. I just wanted to be honest that like there's nothing farther from what I feel than strong right now. And I wrote a big long thing about how people who show up and people who don't, but I basically wanted to write it in case anybody has somebody in their life that's going through something like a loss or grief and they're not sure how to be there for them. I wanted to say that I understand that this is a hard conversation to have, but you need to have it with them. You know, I had countless people say, I don't know what to say to you, but I wanted to let you know that you can talk to me. I love you. You know, you don't have to go through this alone. I'm here if you need anything. Like, just anything to show your support like that, that means the world. You don't have to know what to say something supportive. Just leave it very open-ended. Just let them know that you love them. You know, don't try to suffocate them or anything, but at the same time, they don't need to be ignored. You know, I get a lot of that. I feel like a lot of people think that they either need to be overboard or they need to not do anything at all, and it's really just that middle ground that people are looking for, you know? When I had people consistently say, I don't know what to say, or hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, I'm here if you need to talk, that's one of the biggest things because I started to believe that they wanted to actually talk with me. And ever since then, I've had one friend who continually texts me and checks on me and will just listen to me, but she just lets me talk and she just listens, and that's just all that someone wants, is just that. And I mean, there might be people who tell you that they don't want to talk and that they just want space and, you know, they're not really interested. They might not reply to your texts or your phone calls or whatever, and that's completely fine too. Like, if they're giving you that answer, that's how they want to grieve. But I know for myself personally that people being silent around me just makes me feel worse. It makes me feel like some kind of like car wreck or train wreck that nobody wants to look at or see or involve themselves with, and that just feels like crap for me. So I don't know, there's a lot more well-written things that I have written down, but that's basically the gist of it. I just want to encourage people who might have people in their lives going through grief or loss to reach out to them because it'll be appreciated. It might not, in like that moment, it might not seem like it's well received, But looking back, when they look back on their experience, they're gonna know that you were there, and that'll mean a lot. That'll mean a ton. And the last thing that I have written is basically how I'm feeling now. And like I said, I just want to be honest with you guys that I still feel like crap. A lot of days I still feel really sad about everything. I don't cry a lot anymore. I've been crying because, or almost crying in this video because I've been dredging up everything, but for the most part, I don't cry unless something I think is something new happens. Just having a really rough day, and at the end of the day, it just gets all built up and I end up crying. But I cried for like 4 days straight, it felt like. And after that, I just felt like drained with everything, like physically, emotionally. I didn't feel like I had any water left in my body to even cry. But I don't know, just a lot of days I feel really heavy. I also forgot how up and down this entire process is. It was like 3 days ago now. I felt relatively normal. I felt like in a pretty good mood. And I was texting Mark telling him how guilty I felt for that. You know, I felt like feeling good meant that I would forget everything and forget what we lost. And just like he always has, he always reassures me that that's not the case at all. And just like he did the first 2 times, he always urges me to take my good days where I get them, because, you know, you're not gonna always have good days, so feel good when you feel good. And it was really hard. I didn't understand, even when he was talking to me, I was just like, no, like, I feel guilty right now, and I didn't know how to put it. But then the next day I felt like crap, and I was like, oh, that's what he was talking about. I forgot that you feel like this. So it's been really hard dealing with that. But again, you know, it might not make sense to anybody who's right here, right now, going through this, but definitely just take your days as you come. And if you do have a good day, just try to enjoy the good day. Don't try to read into it. Don't try to expect anything from it. Just try to take that day, because you might feel a lot different the next. I am still pretty spacey, and like it's really hard to concentrate. Like making this video, I'm really glad that I made notes, because when I start to think about stuff, my mind just tends to go in a lot of different directions. So, like I said, it's been kind of hard to concentrate on stuff. And, see, like I can't even remember what I just read. I'm really not in the mood to go out and do things, but after the fact, I'm definitely glad that I am, because seeing pregnant women or even babies and stuff, that really doesn't upset me. I don't really feel any kind of way about it necessarily right now. So that doesn't really bother me. That's not really what it is. It's just generally getting out that I don't like doing. I really just don't want to be around other people right now. I think on the sudden random occasion that I have an outburst, like I just start crying in the middle of whatever store, like I don't want that to happen. I don't want to cause a scene or anything. So I think that's what I'm afraid of. But we've gotten out here and there, and after the fact, I'm always glad that I did, because it's just one step further. But I do feel bad for the people who are experiencing me for the first time while I'm going through this, because I probably seem like a pretty miserable person. Like, I've had a lot of doctor's appointments, so has Remy, and just like I said, going out in general, you know, like you meet people for the first time every day, and they probably think I'm a miserable individual because I just have like no pep in my voice, no whatever, like normally. The best you can see from me is when I'm around my kids and my husband, basically. But I know eventually one day I won't feel like this, and I'm gonna try not to lose it when I talk about this. Right now, I do feel like crap. I've said I feel angry, I feel sad, everything just feels heavy, and I feel hurt. But I know that I will get into a different place day by day, week by week, year by year. I told Mark before all this happened that, like I said, we're going on 5 years of our first miscarriage in November. And I said how that experience, everything around it, that pregnancy, doesn't bring me anything but like peace and love when I think about it anymore. It doesn't really make me sad. It doesn't make me upset. There's always that hurt that I had to lose something that was so dear to me. But, you know, like, it just, I feel so much peace about it now that years ago I did not feel. So I know that eventually one day I will be on the other side of things. I will be in a different place. But right now it's hard to believe that. It's hard to be optimistic. You know, to give you the gist of things, we are going to be trying to conceive again because that's what we want to do and that's what we're comfortable with. But it's hard to envision me actually sitting in a hospital and holding one of our babies again. It never gets any further than that. Like, I can't put any belief into that. I don't feel like I can be really optimistic. I know that one day, no matter what way, Mark and I will add to our family the way we want to. But it's just really hard to be optimistic right now. And I think that's normal and fine. I think there's also a huge part of miscarriage for me that is a physical sense. Like, I won't believe it until I see my body do it. So I know that that's going to take time, obviously. I mean, it may never happen, but hopefully it does. And I think that's basically everything. Like, I know that grief and loss can, like, overshadow my spirit and my sense of self, but I won't feel like this forever. So that's basically what I've been telling myself and trying to remind myself that, like, today might be a crappy day, but eventually I'll get a good day, and those good days will happen more and more, and slowly but surely you'll be in a different place. And that's basically the update that I have. And you know, I'm fine with how this is ending. I'm sure some people expected me to be fine. I'm sure some people expected me to act fine, act normal, go back to my normal schedule, go to my normal work and whatever. Sorry I'm moving around, but this leg of this dresser is like in my butt. But I know people probably had other expectations for me, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not fine. I'm not doing okay most days, but I do feel like I can get on here and my work can bring out the best in me, and it can give me something to do. It can give my mind another place to be, because it does not need to constantly be revolving around this. I think it's healthy to grieve and to work through emotions, but I don't think it's healthy to sit around and think about it constantly either. So that's why I'm coming back, even though I'm not 100%, but I think that's good for people to see too. I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm not gonna hide it either. I'm not fine, and I wouldn't expect someone else to be fine either. So I did want to give you guys an update as to what's happening and how I'm physically doing, where I am mentally, and I guess I can say that Mark's doing all right. I don't really want to talk much to that just because I feel like that's his own place, his own story, his own feelings. Like, very much has to do with him, and I wouldn't feel comfortable just coming on here and saying everything that he's ever told me and stuff like that. But he's doing all right. The girls are doing good, and yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to fill you guys in, and I'm happy to be back, and I hope you guys are happy that I am back. Hopefully. I don't know why you'd be here if you're not, but yeah. Again, thank you for all your support. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. It really does mean the world to me. But I'll see you guys next week in my next video, because I'm not going to say that I hope you enjoyed this one. But yeah, I'll see you guys.